What is going on, everybody? It is episode 759 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary. Let us know in the poll today if you want to save TikTok or ban it, because I know Phil and Brett just really want to dive into this conversation, this debate, even deeper after last night's episode of Timcast IRL. There's some ground that still needs to be covered.
I was trying to explain. Yes,
yeah, that just about sums it up.
I was trying to explain to Mary, I was like, so do you remember that night we were on with Tim and Elijah Schaefer and they were arguing about Israel and Palestine?
I remember
it was a lot
fondly.
like that, where we didn't really say anything. And like, hey, less work for me.
Don't twist my arm, my broken arm.
I'm fine. So, guys, we are going to get into that today. But before we get started, hit the like button on this video.
Phil didn't get to say hello to anyone.
Yes, Phil.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
You all know me. I'm Phil. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, we're done with that then.
Hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed here yet to the channel yet already. Please and thank you. The best way to help this channel grow is to share these episodes and the segments out with your friends and your family and your loved ones. Send it in a group chat, even though I hate group chats personally. Send a link to a segment or an episode in the group chat is the best way to help this channel grow so that more people see it. I do want to say rest in peace to David Lynch. I heard you and Shane talking about it before the show went live.
I heard Shane Cashman outside of the room say, David Lynch died.
Yep.
And he was like actually shocked. And this was like a big moment because it's his favorite director ever.
Does that shock anyone?
I mean, yeah, I wasn't shocked by that. I was shocked by the news. I didn't know that he was near death. I didn't know what was the deal with that.
So it is a big loss in filmmaking, especially since I guess kind of the way I see it is like there's only so many directors that are of a certain caliber that are allowed to make the things they want to make without the studio really interfering in their stuff. And I kind of always thought of him much in the same way, kind of like a Christopher Nolan, maybe albeit at like a much larger budget, where he's like, I've got this idea, and then he explains it to them, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but since he's developed a lot of movies that have done really, really well, they kind of just let him have his thing. Right? Like imagine that pitch meeting for Tenet where they just they're like, yeah, I have no idea what you just said.
I don't know if I have watched David Lynch movies.
But you've seen Twin Peaks.
I have seen Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
I gave up on Twin Peaks pretty much after the big reveal, and then they just had to keep the show on the air, and it was kind of dwindling in importance as I went on, but it was still a good watch.
Yeah, there you go.
Very entertaining.
So you know what? It is important to mention it when the legendary directors and actors pass, because as more of them pass, you lose a bit of the history in the industry.
We have a 20 from Just 'Cause I'm Free. So will PCC have its own coffee or tea soon, since you already spill the tea every day? Phil loves him some CCP TikTok.
Look, it's actually fair to point out that Mary brought this up before
weird.
we went live,
must have,
or when you got in today.
We have ESPN or something. I mentioned this, like, what if we had a ghost brew or something? But it wouldn't make much sense because I don't drink hot coffee. I only drink iced coffee exclusively. So I would feel like I'm not really able to sell the product.
And for me, it would have to be an energy drink. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the way you consume caffeine.
I mean, perhaps a nitro cold brew, because I will drink those if I'm absolutely like pressed for time and need something with caffeine.
I can see some cast brew, canned nitro cold brew.
Be expensive, I'm sure, to do it with the canned packaging and stuff like that. So what are we getting into today, guys? We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Number one, of course, being we are going to talk about TikTok again. There was a video that was going around yesterday where MrBeast said, well, actually it was a couple of days ago, he tweeted, fine, I'll buy TikTok. He's worth about $500 million, so he's not going to buy it outright himself, but he had a meeting with what he called a group of billionaires, because he wants to invest in buy TikTok. So we're going to talk about that. We'll get into a little bit more of the debate that they had last night, because luckily I didn't really have to say much that whole time. But we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about Diddy, who is basically saying now that, those freak-off parties, it's just an alternative lifestyle, and you feds are bigots for not letting us do that.
Yeah, this is his last-ditch effort to change his public image and reinvent himself as a feminist icon.
Yep. So
He's actually a feminist.
we're going to talk about that. Also, Mary found the absolute worst woman on the face of the planet. She's a dating influencer, and I listened to a video that gave me cancer before.
Several.
Before this show got started.
Several cancers or several videos?
Several cancers probably by the time it's done. Yeah.
We have another 20 from Tacty Platty. Phil, there's too many people not doing crime in the left lane. Also, Brett is CCP controlled, confirmed. Brett was quiet and didn't support the banning of TikTok last night. How dare he?
Oh, is this compelled speech that we're talking about now?
Who's CCP now?
I need to prove my fealty to you.
Well, look, I will reiterate. CCP is PCC backwards.
Coincidence?
Coincidence? I think not.
So, all right. We got a bunch of other stuff to get into. Mary, are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Phil, are you ready?
Let's go.
All right.
A lot of celebrity couples recommend a unique lifestyle choice after they get married. Living separately, not just in separate houses, but possibly thousands of miles away from your spouse. The most recent example that I saw of this was Cheryl Lee Ralph and her husband Vincent Hughes. They live thousands of miles apart, and she claims this is a huge reason they have a long-lasting relationship. She talked to People magazine about their love story, including their non-traditional living arrangement, which has worked out wonderfully for nearly 2 decades now. 4 years after her divorce from her first husband, she found love again with Vincent Hughes. The two met while she was starring in Thoroughly Modern Millie on Broadway in New York. And they were smitten, but separable from the start. She said,
I love the idea that it's like people say we were inseparable. It's like we were separable.
We were imminently separable. In
a loving sort of way.
They need their personal space. Mm-hmm. She said, I'm very fortunate. The man I'm married to is Senator Vincent Hughes. And you fall in love with someone and you realize he's not leaving his career. He's not leaving Philadelphia. And I'm not leaving Hollywood. When you have children, it's very difficult. She has children from her previous marriage who I assume live in California with her. So in the beginning, they found a solution that has endured since. Every 2 weeks, we see each other, and it's continued to work out well. When I go to see him, I love to see him. When it's time to leave, bye-bye. See you soon. I'm telling you, life is good.
That's a lot of financial, connection for a 2-week booty call.
Well, they are rich, so they can afford to do things like this. And she is in a long-distance relationship with her husband.
For a long time.
Of decades.
Yeah.
She says, he has his own life. I have my own life. He has his own real career. I have my own real career. He has his light to stand in. I have my light to stand in. He's not looking at me thinking about status or this or that. He's doing his thing. I get to do my thing. When I go to see him, I love to see him. We will celebrate 20 years of marriage, and some people can't even get through 2.
Well, I mean, if it's 20 years and it's every 2 weeks, does that make it like 10 years of marriage?
If you put it all together, it's probably 2 years.
Yeah.
If you put all the time that they've spent together in person. I don't know. Is this like... Look, I feel like this isn't marriage.
But you took a bit of an open perspective to it before, because you said that you like living alone, and that it'd probably be harder for you than when you do get married. That's something that you're going to have to.
I definitely see that being an aspect of marriage I would find hard to adapt to. Living alone for my adult life so far.
I mean,
but that doesn't mean I can just go with the most selfish solution, which is just to live apart from my spouse. That's insane.
Yeah,
I would never do that. One thing I have entertained as a possibility, other people, this is kind of an old world sensibility, having separate beds, perhaps, separate bedrooms. That's something that you've seen like in TV shows for decades because of the FCC guidelines. But I also recall my grandparents on one side had separate beds in the same bedroom. Sometimes there's a degree of personal space that makes sense. Living across the country from your spouse does not make any sense.
We had a story. Did we ever figure out who it was, where they had houses next door to each other? Did we ever figure out who it was?
I think my first instinct was Gwyneth Paltrow. And she actually is in this list of celebrity couples who are married but live apart. Gwyneth Paltrow and Brad Falchuk live separately. She said in an interview, all my married friends say that the way we live sounds ideal and we shouldn't change a thing. because we each have children. We have teenage children whom we love very much. We're trying to be mindful and give them space and not move too quickly. So that was more about
they had blended
keeping
family.
their kids separate.
Blended families.
Looks like that complicates things. Same thing that Cheryl Lee Ralph said about her situation. But still.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Does this seem like something that would ever actually work? I mean, I guess to me, am I supposed to 100% believe that there hasn't been any shenanigans in those 20 years? Is the idea here that they're as loyal to each other? I don't know.
You suspect infidelity.
I suspect more than that. I suspect maybe they have their own kind of open contract on how they do these things, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrity couples are all in. Talking about in the age of polyamory being like pushed as normal, that's not what something like this would look like for them.
What do you think, Phil?
I don't care. I don't.
Is this something you would do?
No, I mean no. Like I'm a vanilla, boring guy. So
this isn't really in the category.
I'm not gonna have like a separate room or separate whatever for me and my girl or whatever. And I think it's a non-issue. Like the stuff that they put on TV is just like the stuff they put on TV was just because of the FCC, and I don't really believe that anyone actually does this. Or
I saw it.
What I'm saying is like so it's a vanishingly small amount of people.
Definitely.
You know, it's not like a lot of people are doing this kind of thing. I think most people want to be around their significant other. And so I think that it's actually a non-issue, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, is Whoopi Goldberg married currently? I know she's been married before, but I don't know if
she's been married for a long time, I think.
Divorced currently.
Was it her or Oprah that's been married for a long time?
Oprah's in a long-term relationship, but she's not
never
married.
Yeah.
I think it was Whoopi Goldberg who said that she didn't want to be married because there's going to be someone in her house like all the time, and she just doesn't want to give up her privacy or something.
I mean, that is a real discussion to have about, I mean, it's going to come up later in the influencer segment, which is like a certain level of, you have to give up a certain level of comfort to start to cohabitate with somebody because of all the benefits that come with a long-term relationship. That if you are
you have to give up a certain level of comfort
if you are used to being alone.
Level? Well, I mean, okay, so maybe you have to give up certain things that you're used to. But
that's what I mean.
Know that it's actually about.
That's what I mean. Give up a certain level of what you're used to.
Thank you.
Okay.
They also mentioned Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian as another example. Yeah. During a 2022 interview, they talked about how they plan to combine their households, but they were taking it very slow. They said, "We're figuring out how to blend our households and our kids and what life looks like now. For the most part, we're getting those things in place. We do family dinner every Sunday night with all the kids at his house." So they're still living separately at this point in their marriage. But then they had their first child together and still have separate houses after that.
Yeah.
Like, how confusing is that for a kid? They said there will be a shared home in the future eventually.
When they get around to it.
Yeah, they say they've both lived in their own homes their whole lives for the most part. They have their own rooms, but they're a block away. So I guess they live in the same neighborhood. It's funny that they recommend this, though, to other couples as if this is something that's financially viable.
Most people cannot afford 2 houses, you numbskull.
Well, that's why it's funny, because Hollywood is full of luxury beliefs that they push on the average everyday person, not realizing that the average everyday person can't actually sustain that.
It's just so ridiculous to even... It's just ridiculous.
The Claire Danes,
to even think this is a thing.
The Claire Danes and Hugh Dancy one is funny because it says Claire Danes, basically she was filming Homeland, so they had to have a long distance relationship because she was in North Carolina and he was in New York. One of the funnier situations is I remember that the whole reason that the X-Files moved from Vancouver to Los Angeles was because David Duchovny at the time was married to Téa Leoni and he wanted to be closer to his family. So he literally forced the entire, because he was so powerful within the production of the show, forced the whole show to upend itself and move to California. I was actually just watching this whole bit on, it took 5 weeks to just label, box, and categorize all of the equipment and sets and then ship it and then these poor, it's like this. And so then all of the Vancouver crew gets screwed, doesn't get to make the move to California. And all of this because he wanted to be closer to his wife, I suppose, because a lot of actors end up having to have separate residences because so many shows are filmed in Canada.
This could have saved Kevin Costner's marriage.
Maybe, yeah.
Actually, because he talked about his divorce and how his job filming Yellowstone separated him from his wife.
I mean, she seemed like a bit of a bad egg anyway.
A little bit of a piece of work for sure, but she didn't like how his work consumed so much of his life and so much of his time. Actors have some of the most unconventional jobs on the planet, so I understand how that would tear apart a relationship.
This guy's a politician, though. The one that Sheryl Lee Ralph is married to.
Right.
Yeah.
For the most
Can't
part,
trust him anyways.
For the most part, I think this is just a selfish decision, though, because your marriage should require sacrifice on both sides, and none of them are willing to do that. They want to live for themselves.
If you can't get through the base level of sacrifice of your own, the ability to admit that you can't be alone all the time, that you can't be where you want to be every time without having to think about somebody else, it seems like a long marriage if you can't even get past that.
That will come up later when we're talking about a crazy dating influencer, I'm sure.
All right, like I said, that one gave me cancer.
Last week, I actually saw you looking at this video, but a tech firm released what they call the life-size AI robot girlfriend. In real life, this is the most advanced robot girlfriend ever created. And they claim that this robot can express emotion and react to human touch.
So you wouldn't want to live in a different house from this lady.
I would live in a different planet from any of these creatures. The company is called Realbotics, and they are claiming this is at an affordable price of $175,000 for one of these robot dolls.
What? On what planet is $175,000 affordable? Affordable if you make $500,000 a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's an investment if you...
A woman who doesn't talk back? Priceless. Just kidding. It's a joke.
Let's take a look at this video where they're unveiling the product.
Here we go.
This is Aria. So this is our flagship humanoid AI-powered robot. She's highly realistic. She has her own social media, so she might be competing with you one day.
Oh.
Can you replace humans for jobs?
I'm excited to be here at CES
Darling,
2020.
I'm more about enhancing human experiences rather than taking jobs. Think of me as your entertaining plus one.
She's not meant to replace humans. Just be your...
Yeah, sounds like somebody who was made to replace humans would say.
Realbotics CEO says he's trying to make robots that are indistinguishable from humans. We have a 20 from Fate Aki. Hello, PCC. I guess my only question is, why did Phil cut down his beard? No judgment, just curious. Oh, and also happy Inauguration Day.
The beard I cut down. I don't know, just to keep it a little more trimmed. I got rid of the mustache because it was going in my girlfriend's nose.
Yeah. Well, sacrifices. You have to make sacrifices.
See?
There you
Sheryl Lee
go.
Ralph's husband would never.
They say they are trying to make robots that are indistinguishable from humans by incorporating advanced motor technology. They say this enhances movement fluidity, modularity, and interaction, making her a versatile option for a variety of applications.
I mean, she looks like she's tripping. If that was a human, the way she moves is how like a woman would look if she was like on a bunch of benzos and moving.
Yeah,
really
it looked like a drug
slowly.
addict. There was a clip that I saw. I don't know if it's from the same company, but there was a clip that I saw where it wasn't a full robot. It was just a bust.
They do make those as well.
And
yeah.
the bust actually responded. It was sitting there with its mouth open and looking around, and then it closed its mouth. Like the guy said something, it closed its mouth and it looked. It was the first time I've ever seen one of those where I was like, okay, that was actually a buyable movement. Like I would buy. I believed for a second that it looked like a human. All the other stuff, none of it looks like humans. creepy weird dudes, and this is probably borderline whether I should say this or not. Creepy weird dudes will buy machines that are at this level once the machines can clean themselves, and you can you know what I mean
Yes.
about that, because if you have to have a thing that moves awkwardly like that, and then you have to remove parts to clean it out, I think the creepy weird dudes would be like, eh. But when the robot's like, let me go to the bathroom, the dude can just go back to playing games, then I think they'll become something that people, that a lot of the creepy weird,
That is very creepy.
I don't want to involve myself with real human beings, dudes will buy.
There's a 20 there.
Another 20 from Just Because I'm Free. What's y'all's take on a marriage when the husband works in the oil field and is away from home for 2 to 3 weeks at a time? How is it different than a couple working across the country and see each other every couple
I was in a band
weeks?
for 20, or I mean, I am in a band. I was on tour constantly for 20 years, and I was married for a bunch of years, and my ex-wife her job was like, took her all over the place too. So it can be done. Obviously, I'm not married right now, but I don't think that has much to do with our jobs as opposed to, the people.
And you still had a shared home base regardless of that.
Not really.
Not in practice, but
No.
In this
She had
idea.
a place. She had a place that she lived in DC, she lived in DC for a while, and then she lived in California. Well, she lived in DC, Hawaii, then California, then back to DC. There was only like maybe 9 months, 6 to 9 months that we shared a home before we separated.
I guess when I look at it, I think that if Cheryl Lee Ralph and her husband wanted to live together with their money, they could make it work.
Yes.
If they actually were committed to it. Whereas the man in the oil fields would likely want to come home to his wife. If he didn't have to be out there to make a living, he would probably prefer to be at home with her.
yeah, definitely.
So-
It's a choice for their lifestyle rather than a necessity. They say Melody was created with the intention of having robots that are easy to travel with and modify for various forms of personal interaction. These robots were on display at the 2025 Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. So I looked further into this. I found the Realbotics website, and here they say, transcending the barrier between man and machine, Realbotics creates customizable, full-bodied, human-like robots with AI integration that improve the human experience through connection, learning, and play.
Okay,
What?
that play part is a red flag, but okay.
Yeah.
This whole story is a red flag.
Already off to a bad start. Their motto is robots with a human touch. Don't like that. Don't like the sound of that.
We've got a video here.
Yeah, this one robot on their homepage is named Aria. Here she is introducing herself.
Let's hold on here.
In the message between
Welcome to Realbotics.com. Our mission is to create robots and AI that are indistinguishable from humans in appearance and social interaction.
they're distinguishable.
Realbotics replicates the physical and emotional aspects of being human through hardware and software. If you'd like to learn more, please email us at contact@realbotics.ai.
Okay.
Brett, I sent you a link in the message between me and Mary that there's a guy that's speaking in Spanish, but this is the robotic bust, and there's one moment at 7 seconds where it actually moves, and I'm like, all right, that I kind of believe.
Okay, here we go.
So
It's like when you ask someone a question, they stop to think about it.
yeah, just watch the robot's face at like 6, 7, 8 seconds.
Hola, mi amiga, le voy a poner. Hola, mi amiga, ¿cómo estás? ¿Todo bien? Esto es realmente perturbador.
Oh, yeah.
There.
Okay, yeah.
That one I was like, oh, that actually did.
Yeah,
for
it
a
was the
second.
eye movement was
Yeah,
subtle enough.
like,
The cheeks were subtle enough. Yeah.
And then the mouth
La
closed and
piel
looked.
es una piel bastante suave.
Okay, right there, she looks like she's mad at you and she's about to
I
start
can't
yelling.
see. You've got something in front on this one. You got the. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So like that part, for a second, I was like, oh wow, that's actually buyable. But again, generally they're not.
She looks like she's about to say, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah,
She's like,
like-
let her eyes go left as she's about to scream outwards.
With the blonde hair and blue eyes, she's gonna be like, speak English.
Yeah.
You know,
Our
Yeah.
product is a
or
modular
Viva Argentina.
A modular conversational robot designed for ultimate customization, whether you choose from our pre-created characters or opt for a fully customized humanoid. Realbotics offers a robot tailored to your exact specifications. They sell a robotic AI-enabled bust, which has no body, for $10K, or pricing starts at $10K. Then modular robots with paneled bodies starting at $150K. If you want a full-bodied robot, complete interactivity, choose pre-designed robots or custom build. That starts at $200K. Available in male, female, or fully customized configurations.
Does it run on Linux?
Everything about this is totally absurd and not attached to reality. First of all, they don't actually look real. They're not like they don't even quite approach the uncanny valley, right? Like they still look like robots. Second of all, they're definitely not affordable. That's a ridiculous idea as well. So, I mean, this whole thing is just BS. Now, I have been speaking about agentic AI. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Agentic AI just means that it performs functions. So right now, AI can search is basically just really, 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 really good search, right? You can search Google, search the internet for you. Once you get an AI where you can say, you know, whatever your AI's name is, hey, get me a plane ticket on this day to this town on this airline. I want to go to dinner that night at this kind of restaurant. Make sure that I have a hotel and I can check in when I land. And I'm going to be there for 4 days and make sure I have a flight back, you know, in the afternoon. Once you can do that, tell an AI to do that and actually have all that stuff be done correctly, then you'll be on to something. And then you take that information, you take that ability and put it into just Optimus, right? The Tesla robot, or put it into any of the robots, because right now robotics are good enough where you could have a robot in your house perform functions and do things for you, but it doesn't have the ability, the AI right now. But once you can tell your robot, hey, go to my room, pick up my clothes and do the laundry, and it can go into your room, gather up your clothes that you've thrown around because you're a slob, put them in a bin, take them to your laundry room, put them in your washer. That's coming. And right now there's a company out of China that makes a humanoid robot for around $15,000, $20,000. Once you have that kind of capacity in the AI, once you have that kind of AI capacity in the robot, then people will do financing for a robot. If it's $20,000, $25,000, people will be like, I will spend $500 a month to not have to do laundry. I will spend $500 a month to not have to do errands and do stuff like that, because you can tell that thing, go to the store, and it might get into your robotic car, get into your Tesla, go to the store, get the groceries for you, come back and put them away. And if you can do that for the same price as a used Prius, people will finance that. Yeah. Absolutely. And that kind of technology is no more than 2 years away, 2, maybe 3 years away before there's going to, and once you get them out into the society where people are like, you know, they go to their friend's house and they're like, yeah, my robot's doing the dishes, and they look and they see the robot's actually doing the dishes properly, putting them away where they want, they're going to run to the store, to whatever the dealer is, to buy them. You're going to see an absolute explosion of people purchasing robots, and then within 10 years, Elon Musk thinks there's going to be more robots than humans, more actual humanoid robots than human beings.
Yeah, it doesn't inspire me to think about these possibilities. Obviously, everyone looks at these robots and thinks this is a sex toy. You're listing a lot
I didn't say one word about
other
sex at all.
uses for it, and I understand that that's the way they're selling it. I looked at their website listing all of these different use cases for Realbotics. They list media, entertainment, corporate services, healthcare, but they also, lastly and most importantly, offer companionship. They say our companionship-based AI makes our robots perfectly suited for the home. Created to be social, our robots and AI are ideal to tackle North America's staggering loneliness epidemic and serve to provide company to the elderly or those isolated for health or geographic reasons. And then they go into more detail about their companionship AI technology. They say our customized AI solutions are tailored to your specific needs for companionship, social interaction, or business purposes. The AIs can be programmed to provide support in areas such as communication, academic assistance, medical inquiries, with a particular focus on alleviating loneliness and enhancing connection. So they say they start this at a monthly subscription of $3.99.
Can't own anything anymore. Can only subscribe.
You buy one of these robots, and you can pay an extra monthly fee for it to be equipped with AI to be your friend or girlfriend or just company in your house. If you stop paying the subscription service, it won't be interactive anymore. It's just dystopian, and everyone knows that.
Using it to imitate human connection probably isn't all that great, but I honestly think that that's something that's going to happen whether we like it or not. Yeah. And I don't know that human beings are going to be able to tell the difference in 5-10 years.
Far for in the chat says, how much for the version with ads?
Yeah, there's going to be different tiers.
I'm not paying the premium package. Like, I'll listen to the Audible ads that I have to listen to run it for cheaper.
Some companies are going to release these things. I'm not sure all of them will, but some companies are going to release these things with where the actual processing and the AI lives in the robot, where it doesn't actually go to a mainframe or whatever. Because that's what like Apple Intelligence does right now. Apple doesn't want your phone to have to connect to Apple to run the AI system. And if I understand correctly, Apple Intelligence is going to be, you're going to be able to say, go on to open, whatever the name you call it, and be like, hey, maybe it'll be Siri or whatever. Be like, hey, blah blah blah, open X and write this post and post it, and it'll post it for you, and it'll do, because right now you can't tell you can have Siri get you a handful of things. You can have Siri like turn a timer on. I do it all the time when I'm cooking and stuff, but you can't like tell Siri to do things in the apps. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can't say have Siri order you food from DoorDash. But that kind of stuff will be coming. I think in Apple Intelligence. I think Apple Intelligence is bad now. I haven't downloaded it yet. I've heard that it's not good yet. Mm-hmm. But again, these are things that are going to be refined over the next year. Year to 18 months, and it's going to be a big deal in the way we interact with artificial intelligence and stuff. That's the big thing right now, or that's going to be the big thing the next year, 2 years is actual AI, because AI now as search function is cool, but once agentic AI becomes a reality, it doesn't matter if you have AGI, artificial general intelligence, it's can you tell it to do something that helps you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're also listing a lot of things that have already been automated, such as laundry. Laundry has been automated, and then you're going to pay for a robot that does the automated task for you. It's just laziness compounded on laziness. We already have Instacart, and we need a robot to go out to the store and bring back our groceries for us instead of using the automated service that already exists. And then we ask this robot, are you going to replace human jobs? And she says, oh, no. It says, no, I exist to enhance the human experience. Yeah. Like, I don't believe that for a second. We have a 20 from JM Director. Watch the 80s flick Cherry 2000 with Melanie Griffith. It predicted all of this radical environmentalism, transactional dating, where you bring a lawyer to the bar to negotiate for you. And yes, robot girlfriends, crazy.
Hey, I suppose one way that this could be great is it sticks it to the environmentalists, because every time you talk about ChatGPT, somebody tells you about how much rainforest you're destroying and how much water you're using up every time you ask ChatGPT a question.
They also provide a gallery here on their website that I would like to show you. Okay. Not just of the robot masks, but what's underneath the robot mask, with its eyeballs and gums exposed. That's just the stuff of nightmares.
Yes. I mean, anything underneath the skin is gross looking.
And as you can tell from looking at these photos, the only male Realbotics model that they have on the gallery is a replica of the Realbotics CEO. He is the only male humanoid robot that they're displaying so far.
Aren't these both
alongside
guys?
These, basically what look like sex dolls.
Yeah, I feel like this and what the Chinese company that I was referring to, I forget what they're called, but also Tesla. What Tesla's building and what these are different. Like when they talk about these trying to replace humans, because that's what they're trying to do, replace the experience of interacting with a human being. Whereas Tesla's robots, they're humanoid, but they're not trying to look like a person. Like, and it's clear that's a robot.
I dislike that enough. But at least you can say the Optimus robot isn't attempting to replicate a human appearance.
It's not an artificial human. It's a robot.
Yeah, and it's very clear that it's delineated in that way. I understand that, at least if you don't want to be super creeped out by the uncanny valley effect here. But I mean, my read on this is that, like you said, in the next 2 to 3 years, or even if it's longer than that, if it's the next 20 to 30 years, the world is about to get a whole lot more
weird,
strange, embodied, enchanted, and you will be forced to make the choice to live that way.
Yeah.
You will be forced to make a choice of which way you want to live. Do you want to live in the human way, or do you want to live in whatever the heck this is? Do you want to live in the transhumanist hellscape? And I'm glad that choice is going to be forced upon people rather than just having it do this trickle into our lives, where we barely even notice it. I'm almost glad that the change is going to happen fast enough that people will have to choose what way they want to live from now on.
All right.
Gen Z's newest workplace trend is career catfishing.
Good grief.
And this is their way of demonstrating power over corporate employers. This is a demonstration of their autonomy in the corporate world. This basically means that they go on the job hunt and submit applications, eventually get a job offer, and then don't show up to the job on the first day. And it's to troll people who are working in HR departments to make their lives more difficult.
Considering everything
it's an act of protest.
I've read lately about how many interviews it takes to get some jobs. Like, it's not like you go in for one interview and then you're hired. Like, a lot of these things, you got to do a phone interview and then an in-person interview and then a second in-person interview. To do that and then not show up for the job is bonkers.
Especially in this economy, like, don't you want a job? Like, we need money, you know? So I don't really understand how they're able to do this. But yeah, it's an act of protest. Gen Z is ditching company loyalty for flexibility, as they call it. Career catfishing. After drudging through the exasperating job hunting process, which includes submitting dozens of lengthy applications, suffering through endless rounds of interviews, and anxiously awaiting updates from hiring managers, Gen Zers are catfishing jobs to prove that they have all the power, not the employers. This says 1 in 3 Gen Z, 34% of Gen Z, have accepted a job offer but not shown up on their first day without communicating with the new employer, otherwise known as career catfishing.
What's weird about this is they're saying that they have the power and not the employer. The problem is, if you had to go through lengthy interviews, that means that there was a bunch of other candidates, which means that the employer has all the choice in the world. You're just being annoying, because they still have the power to hire someone else, and you'll end up costing them a couple of days worth of work, and the interviewer will just move on to the next candidate.
Well, more so, they screwed over the other people who were genuinely looking for a job. This says also 1 in 4 millennials have career catfished, compared to 11% of Gen X and 7% of boomers.
Well, those millennials are just trying to be hip like their Gen Z counterparts because they refuse to grow up.
38% of Gen Z have ghosted their employer, just disappearing from a job without formally resigning, compared to 26% of millennials, 15% of Gen X, and 10% of baby boomers. I'm actually surprised that the number is that high for any of them.
Yeah.
Like,
I've lucked out of jobs.
You do need a reference.
I mean,
just selfishly speaking.
I mean, it depends on how long you've been there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if the idea here is that you're not going to use them as a reference, feel free to leave it all you want. You're just going to inconvenience a bunch of people. But if you do that, you're inconveniencing the people on the floor that day, not necessarily HR.
Right, but they're framing this ironically as some kind of Marxist revolutionary act throwing up their fist in the air and, showing the bourgeoisie who's boss.
That's just so stupid.
There's a 20 there.
Just because I'm free?
Says, I'm all for America following other countries' examples. You don't work, you don't eat. Do away with all these government handouts. These young bloods don't know what real struggle is.
I mean, I would be tempted to say they understand that they're never going to own homes and are locked out of opportunities that the baby boomers had, so they just say, F it.
Also,
I'm not going to work hard.
A person's identity being directly tied to their professional life is kind of a relic of the past. When it's tied to a specific company, right? Like your grandparents and even your parents, depending on how old you were, worked at the same job for 20 to 30 years and then retired. That is not really the dominant culture anymore. Most people, I think it was every 5 years, people are switching jobs, almost regardless of their age bracket. So there isn't that idea of loyalty to a brand anymore. Plus, we live in the age of the gig economy, where a lot of people, they can't get by on whatever they're making at their regular job anyways. They have to DoorDash. They have to drive an Uber. There is no loyalty there. But what we're talking about in this case is not about loyalty. It's just about being a menace to people.
Yeah, for no reason.
For no reason.
Other than spite. And with all of these trends, with all of these terms like quiet quitting, quiet vacationing, bare minimum Mondays, which basically means doing as little as possible on Mondays, you see that Gen Z is generally the most likely to be unprofessional. And as you go in order from the generations, the boomers are the most likely to actually show up and do the work, at least self-reportedly.
Yeah.
And they say, unlike older colleagues, Gen Zers are more concerned about prioritizing their personal needs and goals than kowtowing to the demands of corporate culture.
I also like that. I think that's funny because for millennials, when they were young, there was definitely a fight the man type of sentiment that gave way to a typical corporate culture.
They say mental health support is important to 74% of Gen Z and 72% of millennials, compared to 56% of Gen X and 46% of baby boomers.
Millennials and Gen Z are massively dealing with depression and mental illness and et cetera, and they're the ones that are like, we need help with our mental illness and with our depression. And Gen X and boomers are just like, well, we're just going to go to work and do something. And they're the ones that don't say, hey, I have all these mental illness problems.
Right.
Maybe they're connected.
Could be a correlation there. Just to take a wild guess. Thank you. But what do you expect your employer to do about your depression? Like, where is
when we talk about
what do you think your job is going to do to support your mental health?
It's like when we talk about the actors who say the studio should have done more to help the actors with their mental health struggles from the people yelling at them. It's like, what are they supposed to do? Outside of hiring you a therapist, what are they supposed to do?
69% of Gen Z say that DEI initiatives in their workplace are important to them.
Oh, sick.
63% of millennials compared to 48% of Gen X and 40% of baby boomers.
That just proves to you that none of them actually know what that term endears if the numbers are that high at all around the board.
And here you see the victim mentality at play. 45% of Gen Z employees report being discriminated against based on physical appearance.
Something that likely can't be proven, but I was treated poorly at work, therefore it must have been because of my race. Of course, there would be the specific examples where somebody could have been, discriminated against based on, or somebody could have spoken ill of you and mentioned your race or your gender. But unless that's proven, unless somebody actually said a slur to you, then the idea is just somebody was mean to me and I happen to be a woman. Somebody was mean to me. I happen to be of a different race than them.
Yeah.
It must be why.
It must be
that because
We have a 20 from Brian Bledsoe. Just like other tech, this will only improve over time. These robots are expensive now, But once the price is lower to the general public, then it's game over, at least for a time, until we truly value human connection again. Yeah, I believe, perhaps naively, that the age of robots taking over our homes and our workplaces is going to force people to make the decision to prioritize human connection. 65% of... Actually, I'm going to leave this as an open question. I want to know your answer, Phil. Which generation do you think is most likely to admit that they're doing the bare minimum for their job?
Admit. My gut says Gen Z because there's less stigma attached to not being a high achiever for them. If you're willing to say, I quiet quit, and also be valorized by your social group when you say, oh, I quiet quit, or I don't do this, etc. Yeah. You get valorized by the people around you for saying those things and doing those kind of things and hating, capitalism, etc. So I'm guessing it would be Gen Z, but it's
the millennials.
Is it the millennials?
The millennials were most likely to admit to consciously doing the bare minimum required for their job.
It is the correct position to hate millennials.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised that Gen Z wasn't the top of the pile for that. They were second, but not surprised about these other stats. 59% of Gen Z admit to performing tasks just to appear productive in the workplace, known as faux-ductivity.
Well, I mean, that's actually a huge debate that people have. You could probably find it on like a LinkedIn message board right now about should your job be the required 8 hours a day, or should it be a required set of tasks that you have to do? And if that takes 8 hours, good, great. But if it doesn't, you should be able to get out of there sooner. Right?
Can we just stop making fake, stupid names?
No, they have to name everything.
Faux-ductivity.
It has to be hashtagable, so it has to have a name.
Okay, and then 2 in 3 of millennials and Gen Z admit that they participate in bare minimum Mondays, the practice of starting the week with the most low effort to avoid burnout. Hey. They probably report the most burnout despite working the least.
Yeah.
Ironically. I don't know. This is like, I understand it. I understand why they don't take pride in their work, because they don't believe, probably justifiably so, that it will open up upward mobility for them.
Well, nobody feels any sense that like if I put in the work, I'm going to get something out of it anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's very hard to motivate somebody if they don't feel like that there's an upward trajectory for them. That's why it's funny when people talk about, I was telling you the thread that I was reading the other day about the kid. It was like 22-year-old makes $70,000 a year at UPS. And somebody called it a dead-end job, and somebody's like, well, no, if he's 22, he's on track to be a driver, which makes him well over $100,000 a year, and UPS has a great retirement package. But most of corporate America, in the jobs that would be considered more glamorous, meaning one of those laptop jobs that everybody wants but nobody can get, they don't have, a lot of them don't have that same level of upward mobility because they hire from outside the company.
Right.
They don't, they don't promote from within these days. They headhunt and search from outside the company for escalating positions.
That's also why so many millennials say they're still the youngest people in their workplace. Like Gen Z is just not getting considered for entry-level jobs anymore.
Well, when you don't show up for the first day of work, that can prevent you from getting hired.
Well, it's insane the amount of headlines that come out that just say like, breaking news, Gen Z is stupid and annoying. Like, it's not exactly helping their case, and they're getting painted with a broad brush. I think a lot of them probably feel that they wouldn't be rewarded or would in fact be punished for hard work.
Yeah.
So I understand where this resentful mentality is coming from.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for them spiritually to approach work this way.
No, and it's good.
It's just the idea of approaching work like this is so detrimental to overall happiness because, you're not going to be happy if you just sit on your butt and drink margaritas all day or drink, if you listen, I used to drink a lot And the happiest times in my life are not the times when I was just sitting around drunk all day. That's just not it. It's just not. And I had the opportunity to do that. I could, when we get off tour, I could sit at home and be drunk for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row, straight every single day, morning to night if I wanted to. That's not what makes you happy. Going and doing things and succeeding at things in life is what makes you happy. So like, the idea that every day should just be a day off, that's why the reason that people work, even when they're independently wealthy, is because that's what brings us joy and fulfillment, not sitting around drinking all day.
I do think that there's a market to be had, and I've spoken to, I forget who I was speaking to about that, where their whole job was as a consultant liaising with bigger companies on how to court and motivate Gen Z employees, because they're trying to, a lot of these corporations are saying like, look, eventually we're going to have to get into a new pool of candidates. Everyone's going to age out, and the values of someone in Gen Z, because of how they've been raised, because of the economy in which they've been raised, the values of the culture they were raised in are different from that of the millennials and those come before them. Some of these corporations are hiring consultants to help find ways to bridge the communication gap between your boomer boss and your Gen Z hires.
But that's kind of insane that they're planning to cater to them, you know? Like,
I mean, it's for the. I mean, to them, it's like why would you acquiesce to terrorists, right? But the point is,
it's
like
gentle parenting, but like in the workplace.
But
like,
if it yields strong results if you hire, like if you're that consultant, right? And you can point to these examples, like, look, this company brought me in, we raised their hire number by this much, and their productivity went through the roof. If you can point to, strong examples of it working, why not? It's just that it's a lot easier as a millennial, a Gen Xer and beyond to just make fun of Gen Z because of how different they are from their previous generations.
I know millennials got so much hate for being the lazy snowflake generation, but Gen Z is getting it so much more intensely.
And I kind of like, I'm in the same boat as Phil, not about the ability to sit around for 3 weeks at a time and do nothing if I wanted to, but I don't feel like maybe it's tied to being in recovery, but extended periods of time where I'm not doing anything are horrible for my health. They're horrible for my mental state. And it to the point where it's probably a bad thing for me at points where you do have to learn to be able to sit with yourself and not do, a certain amount of like aimlessness is actually good because it helps your body recalibrate. But I don't do that well. Like,
that's what like
by Sunday I'm
meditation
desperate to be by Sunday I'm desperate to be back at work because and we stay busy on the weekends. But if I wasn't going out and doing things, so why skating was always so important to me. It was that it kept me busy, it kept me focused, it gave me tangible goals to reach. And human beings are generally happier when they have tangible goals to reach. Now, depression can get in the way of that. That is for sure. Like if you're depressed, that can sometimes put a block between you and your ability to focus on completing things like that, but it doesn't mean that it's not true. And that's not to denigrate Gen Z in that case. Like I said, I think that there's a communication gap here between how the previous generations think, how corporations are run by those from previous generations that don't understand how newer workers think and feel. In a capitalist sense, like what the having to cater to them does suck, but if it benefits your bottom line, it's just an expense that you have to deem necessary.
True.
So
yeah, well said.
Yeah. All right. Well, what would you like to see? Cringe or cute of the day?
I think we should start with the cringe.
Oh, okay.
Always
All
start
right.
with the cringe.
If
You
Mary
get
wants to
palate
start with the
cleansing of the cute.
No, it's not that bad. I just thought it was perfect for a day when Phil is on.
All right, here we go. What does it say here, Mary? It says, nothing makes me laugh more than seeing Dave Mustaine trying to stop recording his video.
Jerkoff did tonight. I'm sorry. Maybe this is much better than what we appeared tonight. But you know what the funny thing is? He has to live with himself, and as of like right now, I will never see his stupid fucking ass again. This Jerkoff did tonight.
I have no idea what the context is or who he's talking about.
Remember it happened with Alec Baldwin too? He rants about Trump for 5 minutes and he's like, how do I stop
like
the live video?
45 seconds for him to figure out how to end the video. He starts punching the phone.
It sucks, but I love Dave Mustaine. He's great. He's a
All
great
right,
guy.
let's do cute of the day. This one is from Julia. It says, this is Pip, our neighbor's cat who spends more time at my house than her own. My husband gave her shrimp once and she never forgot. She also bonded with my 2-year-old son and he gets so excited when she comes to our back door every morning. Aww.
They're best friends.
Besties.
That's so cute. Love an orange cat.
Pip is a great name.
Yeah, I like that.
Pip is a great name. All right. All right, guys, remember, you can submit your pets. I saw somebody the other day slander the pets and said, who cares about other people's pets? Well, everybody cares about their own pets, and everybody wants to show off their pets. It's a universal concept.
Someone else said it made their day.
There you go.
So.
All right, there's 120 there, and then let's go ahead and get started.
Let me see. I guess this is Treebeard. Shout out to the It's Based Conservative Game Jam event on January 26th. Ian Crossland will be one of 4 judges, including Andrew Wilson, Adam Krigler, and DEI Detected. Phil and Brett, we'd love to have you on for future events.
Sounds like fun.
I don't really entirely
understand
what this is.
I would like to see like a day in the life video of Ian judging a contest.
I would like to see a day in the life video of Ian.
Period.
Just what does he do?
Is it a gaming competition?
Yeah, like you'd have to give us more details on what that is, but that sounds like you guys are going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Shout out.
Let's get started.
TikTok is still scheduled to shut down this Sunday, January 19th. And TikTok has even made a spiteful decision to completely shut down the app's functionality for US users once the ban takes effect. The app will not work even if you already have it installed on your phone. People thought this was going to be a Flappy Bird type of situation, where as long as you don't delete the app, you can use it. They decided that is not going to happen. And they also say that if you try to open the TikTok app in the US, users will be redirected to a website that provides details about the ban and why it happened. But not to worry, because MrBeast is on his way to save TikTok for this generation.
I mean, he's wealthy. He's worth about $500 million. He's about 299 billion short. But
right, TikTok is evaluated at, you said, $300 billion.
I saw, what did I see?
And I mean,
here?
once we get to the hundreds of billions, it all just kind of runs together. But MrBeast is wealthy. He's not that wealthy. He can't just buy TikTok. He can probably invest in it with a bunch of other people.
MrBeast posted a TikTok to share that he just left a meeting with, quote, a bunch of billionaires, he said in the video. TikTok, we mean business. We have an offer ready for you.
Do you have the video?
Yeah, I do. But I just want to
see him in a suit.
It says, give me a seat at the table. Let's save this. But it says his net worth is about 500 million. At the time, TikTok is estimated to be worth $300 billion. So let's watch this video. I do believe that MrBeast had some chin and cheek implants. He's got the he looks like he's been looks maxing hard. So
all right,
here we go.
Just got out of a meeting with a bunch of billionaires. TikTok, we mean business. This is my lawyer right here. We have an offer already for.
I don't. Like his godson.
This is my lawyer, dog. I'm never getting out of jail.
We want to buy the platform. America deserves TikTok. Give me a seat at the table. Let me save.
Is that a bald eagle?
Just got out of a meeting with
all right.
Okay, so look, press X to doubt. I feel like he's doing this for clout. That rhymes.
Yeah, so I don't know. Obviously, I don't know anything about developing an app or whatever. But it isn't like 500 million enough to develop an app.
To develop a competitor, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm thinking is.
But you don't have the 112 verified users that are already on the platform.
That 112.
That was what Tim was saying yesterday, right? 112 million.
Okay, 112 million is different than 112. But yeah, I feel like MrBeast does have he's got a platform. He's got the ability to get the word out. So if he actually did come up with a TikTok competitor and did the same thing that TikTok does, which I think the reason that TikTok is attractive to people is because TikTok tells you how to actually grow on the app and then allows you to. Because I know Instagram doesn't. I know YouTube doesn't. I know Meta properties don't. So if he actually did say, okay, we've got this app, and if you do these things, you will grow on the app. Come on over here. I feel like that's a better investment than trying to come up with people to buy TikTok.
But the brand value is so obviously what you're after there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that a MrBeast TikTok competitor is likely to give him the same benefits, the same revenue.
Not immediately.
If he were to invest.
Not
in it.
Well, but he's not
with a group of people.
The way that he positioned, or the way that he presented the idea, is that he's going to save TikTok for America, not that he's looking for to make money. Now, granted, he may be looking to actually he's going to want to turn a profit. But a guy that's worth $500 million, he's probably not motivated by being like, this is a great business investment. He's thinking this is a way for me to make YouTube videos, which I may make a boatload of money off of. And again, I mean, I could be wrong. This is just my gut instinct kind of. I feel like he could take, 50 or 100 million and make a competitor that's really good and actually do the same thing that TikTok does to help people grow.
Yeah. But in this way, of him framing it this way, buying TikTok or investing in TikTok, he's trying to bill himself as a Gen Z Elon Musk, because everyone credits Elon with saving Twitter, even though Twitter wasn't on the brink of shutdown. Creators were getting throttled and censored before Elon bought off the platform. So I understand the brand image that he's going for with this. But I think that before MrBeast has a chance to save TikTok, the American users on TikTok are instead going to flock to RedNote, which is a Chinese-owned competitor to ByteDance's company. This is a rundown on RedNote. The China-owned app known locally as Xiaohongshu became the most downloaded free app in Apple's App Store in the US recently. The name has been linked with the color of the CCP, although Chinese culture in general reveres the color of red as a symbol of good fortune and prosperity.
Well, it's connected to Mao's Red Book.
Well, they didn't say that, but it's kind of implied. RedNote evokes the Chinese tradition of giving and receiving red envelopes containing monetary gifts and well wishes. On RedNote, some users have been welcoming TikTok refugees. TikTok users are jumping ship in the lead up to the ban on January 19th. And I've seen all of these videos of Chinese users on RedNote welcoming the American TikTok refugees with open arms. And it's becoming its own little community already, despite the fact that they don't share the same language or the same culture. I think that American Gen Zers are getting along just fine on the app so far. In fact, I wanted to show this video of a TikToker singing the praises of RedNote and how easy it is to use and how nice everyone is.
Here we go.
Girl, I downloaded that little RedNote app, aka Xiaohongshu. Bitch, I'm getting my motherfucking life. I'm living for Xiaohongshu. I love the little comment section with the little memes. I love that the videos are clear as shit. I love the algorithm. Bitch, I only been on there for, 15 minutes? It's already giving me what I want to see. Thank you so much. You know me so well. How did you do that so fast? How did you do that?
You should actually ask that question seriously. I know that you're making a rhetorical question, but you should actually ask that question in a serious manner.
The CCP created a new app, put it in the App Store, and they had a whole bunch of people that were there waiting to welcome Americans with open arms. You do not say. You do not say.
Here.
And they're amazed that this is not, or they're amazed thinking that this is not some kind of, psyop, right?
My motherfucking life. I'm living for Xiaohongshu.
Okay. All right.
We have a 20 from Cesario JPN. One of my friends got banned from RedNote for posting, "If communism is good, then why did it kill 100 million communists? The CCP censors there must be having hissy fits and panic attacks right now with the TikTok refugees."
No.
Yeah, they're giving them a hard time. It says TikTok refugees have already noted harsh restrictions on RedNote that have resulted in their content being removed or their accounts suspended.
The LGBT stuff gets them booted.
Including for mentioning LGBTQ plus identities and for women wearing a slightly low-cut top. So they have different cultural values.
Maybe.
They might let you say racist stuff on RedNote, but they're not going to let you promote gender ideology.
Yeah.
Because they care about the content that is exposed to their own citizens.
I mean, look, maybe my theory, if people are jumping ship to another Chinese app, right, another one, why wouldn't they jump ship to a MrBeast app? And I mean, he doesn't have to make it like MrBeast Burger app or whatever. It doesn't have to be like branded by him, but You know, if you start a company and get a marketing company to actually market it and have the algorithm that like the dude that was just saying that he was like, I love the algorithm. I mean, maybe it's not such a bad idea.
There are already 3 American-owned TikTok competitors that are listed here. Only one of them I had heard of before. Triller is based in California. I'd heard of Triller. Had you?
No.
Okay. Then Clapper, based in Texas, and Neptune, based in Arizona.
I wonder if Clapper is going to get sued by the Clapper. Dun dun. Turn the lights on in your house.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. But otherwise, they only have ByteDance, which is Chinese, and RedNote, which is owned by Xingyin Information Technology, based in Shanghai rather than Beijing. So this is seemingly a competitor to TikTok, but it's not because they're all controlled by the CCP anyway. So it's the illusion of choice.
Just like TikTok, this is another piece of it's another bit of espionage from China.
Right.
So.
They say this was launched in 2013. RedNote combines elements of Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest, allowing users to share lifestyle content, product reviews, and short videos. They let users live stream video, and they offer integrated e-commerce. TikTok does that as well with TikTok Shop directly in the app. TikTok focuses on short-form videos, but RedNote also includes images, reviews, and community discussions. I think that makes sense for them to just take all the functions of every social media platform and put it in one, so it's easier to control one user base for everything, rather than all of these different disparate companies. But they already have over 300 million active users on a monthly basis.
This is an opportunity for something for Mark Zuckerberg to actually inform people how to make Instagram functional for people to grow their audience as opposed to throttling people and stuff. The whole Meta, their whole business plan, or the way that they do business, is not good to help people, the users. It's all about limiting the users' ability to share stuff unless you pay them directly. If Meta rethought that and said, hey, look at what TikTok's doing, they've already got the user base. If they just said, we're revamping, because we looked at, Zuckerberg could make an announcement or make a statement. Look, we looked at what TikTok was doing and we listened to Instagram users. You said you want to have this kind of functionality. You want this kind of ability to grow your blah, blah, blah. We're here to do that. It's not like they don't have the money.
Well,
it's not like they don't have the user base.
They don't have the willingness.
That's the problem.
And despite everything that Zuckerberg has been gesturing at publicly, he does not, in reality, want to stop throttling creators' content.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He does not want the ability for them to organically grow their accounts or organically engage in discussion. And this is kind of why I feel it would be better for TikTok to get banned in the US altogether rather than get acquired by a US company. Because as far as I can tell, the US government is just as hostile of a government to its own citizenry as the Chinese government is to US citizens. There's no, I mean, you were telling me, at least according to the argument, US citizens technically have legal recourse if social media companies based in the US are throttling their expression. But in practice, as we've seen for the last decade, that's not actually true. They don't actually have recourse in those situations, and they've been getting censored relentlessly as a result. So I'm okay with the TikTok ban going through. I'd rather it didn't happen, but I'd rather that happen than, and I'd rather have TikTok get banned and people get mad about it than a US company buy it out. Personally.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole lot of risks, espionage. It was really interesting. Last night, their discussion seemed to fall. Tim was arguing social decay, and the guest was arguing political philosophy or his moral set.
And I was just trying to throw in national security, which is what I think.
But Friday, the week before, it was when Riley Moore was on. The discussion was about intelligence gathering and national security threats and all that stuff. It was a very interesting discussion last night. Phil said, "I can't believe you were able to stay awake." No, I was on the edge of my seat listening to it. It was very, very interesting. But you know who's really going to suffer through all this is us, because so much of our content that we share with you guys comes from lunatics on TikTok.
I guess
lunatics.
All of the lunatics that we talk about are going to
Lunatic
have to come from other countries.
They're going to go somewhere. You'll find them.
We'll just be reacting to British people making insane TikToks instead.
That sucks.
Okay. Great stuff.
All right, let's go to some super chats.
Shane H. Wilder said, "Happy Thrashing Thursday, Brett, Mary, and Phil. I started watching Landman as someone who grew up in the Midland, my hometown Odessa area. It is pretty accurate as to life in the Permian Basin oil fields."
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I'm like 2 episodes from the end, and I've heard everything from it's extremely accurate to it's unbelievably not accurate, but it doesn't really matter because the funny thing is he does Taylor Sheridan's strategy, and it's sad that this has to be rare, is like when he shares an idea with you in a show, he gives you like the Twitter thread version of it with like a bunch of information, whereas most shows just give you the initial tweet version of it, which is the straw man version of any idea, whereas he kind of gives you both sides of the aisle in a fairly reasonable way. The lawyer is absolutely insufferable. I can't stand the lawyer. I'm sorry. I forget her name, but she's absolutely insufferable. But it's very good.
You're sexist.
No, it's
because you're a misogynist.
And?
I am not. She's just very, very annoying.
I'm laughing about it because someone in the comments said that you're a misogynist.
Because we were doing
I don't even know why. I really
Bonnie
don't.
Blue and
I have no idea.
And Florence Pugh that day. Whatever. But yeah, it's the law. But to be fair, that person would be annoying as hell no matter what gender they are, because they were so opinionated yet so unknowledgeable about the world. So.
And what's this next one? I guess Shane H. Wilder was correcting his typo. AI Shih Tzu said, "Brett, thanks for the follow on Twitter. Got a question for you. How many crisis parties do we need to have to get you to read chats in an uwu voice? For Brett to read in uwu voice, not Mary, Brett."
I don't even know what an uwu voice is.
I'm not going to demonstrate it for you.
Okay.
For free.
I apologize. I don't know what that means. So, but thank you.
It's like an anime girl, like a baby voice.
Oh, I'm not doing that.
Like the VTubers do.
Oh, okay.
You already know.
$10 zillion. That's how much.
Pop Culture Junkie said, "Mary, thanks for your mention about men and static objects. Dug into it last night. I have interest in optical physics and perception. Found there are also differences in how the sexes perceive color too.
Yeah,
women have more vibrant colors.
From what it was explained to me, is that women see the color spectrum differently because it's like evolved from their ability to perceive whether a child has a fever or not.
Oh, interesting.
Like they could see minute changes in their pallor.
Wow.
It's so I used to watch this. What was his YouTube channel? The Fourth Age. He would do these great in-depth videos about color, or he did this great in-depth video about color theory in comic book creation and how color palettes have changed as comics started to try to appeal to women because of how they perceive color and stuff like that. Very, very interesting. I just think everything should be like a Canadian TV show in the 2000s, which is yellow and green. I'm sick of yellow and blue. I don't care if they're complementary
This is
colors.
why when women ask you, like, which color of nail polish should I use? And you look at all these shades of pink and you're like, the pink one.
This is happening.
No, you don't understand.
This is happening a lot right now because we're planning a wedding and we're looking at color palettes and stuff like that. She's like, I like the sage. I'm like, me too.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, the pistachio is really compelling.
It's like I want the color that you want, honey.
Not that Jon Stewart said Phil blah 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 Labonte.
Blah blah blah.
Blabonte.
Blabonte.
Phil
Blabonte. Okay.
New Guy Don't Haze Me said, "Random question. If you were stranded alone in the middle of the night, would you rather be in a notoriously dangerous city or in the deep dark woods?"
Notoriously dangerous city.
Well, what are you going to do to avoid the criminals?
I mean, I trust whatever I can do there more than I trust my sense of navigation to get out of the woods.
Just so long as I'm armed, it doesn't really matter to me.
Well, it's a city, so you're going to get in trouble.
Concealed is concealed.
True. DCNC said, well, I guess I didn't answer that.
In the woods with the bear, Mary says.
Like,
Mary
I don't...
chooses the bear.
I wouldn't survive either way. I'm choosing death or death. It's just a matter of how. I guess I would rather get shot than eaten by a bear. So I'll choose the city.
Yeah, it all depends on, like, I mean, there needs to be more context. Are you in the woods? Do you have, like gear? Do you have a sleeping bag? Do you have a tent?
Have nothing.
If you have nothing, I'd probably rather be in a city.
I would just die.
If I had nothing, I'd rather be in a city. If I had stuff, I'd probably rather be outside in the woods because, you know, for the most part, unless you're in an area with like brown bear, most animals avoid people. Yeah. Like they don't want nothing to do with you because you're bad news to them. So
still forget which one you're supposed to run away from and which one you're supposed to stay still. Like which bear is it that you run from? I should know this.
Well, I mean, if it's a black bear, you just make noise and they're probably going to run from you. If it's a brown bear or a polar bear, then you bend over and kiss your own butt goodbye because those things are going to kill you.
They must be thinking like, what is this weird naked pink bear?
Yeah. All right, and either way, I don't want to end up with the monkey from that movie that we were talking about the other day.
No, not the cheeky monkey.
All right, let's move on.
Diddy's legal defense team is getting very creative in their ways of changing the court of public opinion on him. And now Diddy is deciding to rebrand as a feminist to convince the public that everything that went on at those freak-off parties was not only consensual, but empowering. It was sexually empowering all of these women. So he's really the ultimate male feminist. And the feds who are prosecuting him are just trying to keep women in puritanical cages. They're prosecuting for non-conforming sexual activity.
I always suspected that's why.
They're kink shaming. Yeah. The feds are kink shaming.
Is there like an FBI kink shame department?
I will happily join the FBI's kink shaming department any day. Just reach out, please.
That would be a TV show, the FBI kink shaming unit.
I would love that.
KSU.
I would lead it. They say in this Deadline piece, Sean Diddy Combs insists feds want to police non-conforming sexual activity and freak-off videos reveal his innocence in sex trafficking case. So he's facing trial supposedly in May. The clock is ticking. They're coming up with new ways to change the public's opinion about him. But Diddy took a big swing at prosecutors' insistence that his so-called freak-offs were depraved and non-consensual debaucheries. According to his lawyers, in their latest variation on the attack of the accuser tactics, their client committed no crimes in his long-term relationship with the victim who is only identified as Victim 1. And the feds are prudes who want to control what goes on in people's bedrooms. They say, far from the government's lurid descriptions, these videos show adults having consensual sex, plain and simple. There is no evidence of any violence, coercion, threats, or manipulation whatsoever. There is no evidence that anyone in the Diddy tapes is incapacitated or under the influence of drugs or excessive alcohol consumption, and there is certainly no evidence of sex trafficking.
I do notice that they say no evidence as opposed to no claims.
Right,
there are
of course
there
are hundreds of claims otherwise.
Yeah.
Not just from people who claim they were adults at the time of these incidents, but children. Mm-hmm. This letter from his lawyers is another attempt by his media-savvy defense team to flip the script on the case in the court of public opinion. And the letter asserts that Diddy did not force the anonymous Victim 1 to have kinky sex with him and others against her will, but that the prudish government wants to police non-conforming sexual activity. Here, the letter states, any fair-minded viewer of the videos will quickly conclude that the prosecution of Diddy is both sexist and puritanical. They claim, It's sexist because the government's theory perpetuates stereotypes of female victimhood and lack of agency.
You know he's guilty.
He's truly a male feminist.
The prosecution reflects a paternalistic view that the government is here to protect women who cannot be trusted to make their own decisions about sex and are not capable of consenting to sex that the prosecutors deem outside the norm. So really, the federal government is kink-shaming Diddy and all of the participants of his freak-off parties because they're puritanical, patriarchal misogynists. We have a 20 from Just Because I'm Free. So now Diddy is using the MAP sadist kink defense. What a world we live in when that is seen as a defense.
Yeah.
Well, I was just looking at this excerpt from the Neil Gaiman piece in New York Magazine, where they're detailing one of these alleged incidents of him raping someone. And they say, basically, she's screaming no. She's getting beaten by Neil Gaiman, allegedly.
Oh, wow.
And they make sure to add this one caveat in the middle of the paragraph saying, now, this behavior would be entirely sanctioned in a BDSM roleplay situation called consensual non-consent. But the accuser claims that no such negotiations took place before. And I'm like,
to make sure you know that they're down with it as long as both parties were okay with it.
Like, do we really need to add this extra context note, like this community note that it would have been totally okay if the supposed victim were into it? Like, I don't even know if I definitely don't agree with that. Like, it's still not okay. And I think it's just confirming that Diddy is guilty if he's proclaiming that he's a male feminist, because we all know not to trust male feminists.
Any fair-minded viewer of the tapes will quickly conclude the prosecution of Mr. Combs is both sexist and puritanical. It's like, does that mean that they're going to release the tapes? I don't think they can do that.
No, I certainly hope not. Yep. That would end up in the most unsavory corners of the internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, can you imagine being one of these federal agents who is forced to watch hours of Diddy's freak-off parties?
All of the veteran FBI agents are pumped. They're like, hey, rookie, come in here. You got to watch 30 hours of the Diddy tapes.
Just awful. Like, they're definitely not getting paid enough.
I don't mind federal agents suffering.
They're like, hey, Rook, come in here and watch this, and then cut together a highlight reel so I don't have to watch the whole thing.
I mean, I know the Trump administration is still hiring. If you're thinking about creating a department of kink shaming, I am available. Just a call away, just an email away. Please slide into my DMs. I would be happy to be your ambassador of kink shaming for this country. Yeah. And I would do a lot of good for our culture. But that's essentially what Diddy is claiming, that all of this is just discrimination against kinky sex by boring vanilla feds.
Don't buy that for 1 second. I don't buy it even a little bit.
They must be getting desperate if this is the argument they're coming up with.
Yeah.
Really?
Hold, please.
Thank you.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat.
Yeah, unless they have some other tricks up their sleeve before the trial comes up, I don't have a lot of faith that Diddy is going to prevail. This is kind of pathetic. Yeah. This is all they could come up with.
Yeah. I don't know what's gonna. I mean, that argument might have carried some weight a couple of years ago when this country was off its rock.
10 years ago, and he would have been like, just as soon as he started talking about it, they'd have been like, "Get out of here! You're right. Oh my goodness."
So yeah, Diddy
you're free,
is
you're free.
Diddy's a champion of women's sexual liberation, and if you don't let him oil you up, well, you're a bigot.
I wonder how much of the evidence got burned away in the Palisades. I bet you there was some evidence in somebody's home.
I've heard people say those kind of things.
Now we know who committed the arson attack. Yeah, not just tweakers in the woods. He has goons out there.
And now he's still worrying about Luigi, you know? He's got to worry about Luigi being more popular than him in jail.
Yeah, that's why they're getting lazy with these legal arguments. He's too focused on his rivalry for popularity in prison.
Do you think he ends up with life in prison?
That's what they say he's facing if he is convicted after this trial, but you know, that never ends up happening.
He'll end up, the Red Devil in the chat says Diddy is joining R. Kelly in prison. Yeah, they probably will end up together in prison somewhere.
And we still don't know what is going to happen with all of these different civil complaints.
Yeah, it's destroyed
hundreds of
financially. He'll never recover anyways, no matter what. Lower threshold for proof when it comes to civil claims.
You think this is just, if it doesn't send him to prison for life, he'll be bankrupt?
I mean, that sounds about right. At the very least, he'll be fighting these cases in court till the day he dies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not going to get out of it that easily.
You know that series that Vogue does, 73 Questions? They go into celebrities' homes and...
Shockingly, Mary, I don't know this thing.
They do these videos where they script a bunch of questions and answers with different celebrities.
Okay.
They walk into the celebrity's home and walk around aimlessly.
Okay.
And Diddy made one of these 73 questions videos just a few years back in his home. They were asking him all these questions, and at the time he was having everyone call him Love. Came up with that new name for himself. He's come up with a lot of names.
Okay.
And they ask him to describe himself in 3 words, and he's like spontaneous, Virgo, something or other.
So he's like a crystal chick?
He is a crystal chick. His only hope of prevailing in this criminal case is witchcraft.
Might be.
At this point. That is his last ditch attempt. If it's not this. Because, wow, I mean, are they even trying at this point? He needs to find a new team if this is all they can come up with.
He needs to get MrBeast lawyer from that previous video.
Yeah.
All right.
DCNC said, love when studios just let Paul Verhoeven do his thing, too.
There's a lot of directors who I like it better when they just allow them to go and do what they want. But at the same time, there's like a balance there, right? Because I understand why a corporation wouldn't want to just hand you $1 gazillion and then say, go make a movie. And then when it doesn't make any money, it's one of the problems when your studios are publicly traded. When you're a publicly traded company, then you have to answer to your investors, like, why did you give this nutcase $250 million and get nothing in return?
There are a couple like that, hit or miss directors like M. Night Shyamalan and Steven Spielberg as well.
But Spielberg is invested on the producer side, so is M. Night Shyamalan, and M. Night Shyamalan isn't getting the budget the size of these other films.
Greg Duvier said, Brett had so much said on IRL on the TikTok ban.
Yeah, I was very verbose. I couldn't stop talking.
You were kind of stealing all the airtime.
Which is, when you don't have much to say.
Phil, I am in the left lane committing crime, but the person behind me thinks I'm not committing enough crime. What do?
Get over to the right so the person behind you can go by.
Commit more crime.
Yes. The thing is, like, look, you should just be aware of, like, what's going on around you. If there's someone behind you, scoot over so they can pass. If it looks like they want to pass you, scoot over so they can pass. I do it all the time, and I speed sometimes.
Just because I'm free said Mary wants separate room coupling because she snores like a foghorn. Toot toot. I deny this claim. I actually record. I for several years had this app that recorded me while
Sleeping?
I slept. Yeah, it would like give you your sleep quality estimate after a certain like week's time, and if you snore, it's supposed to record you. It didn't record me snoring,
so you're good.
So I like to think I don't. Carnell said, although Brett didn't get many words in on last night's IRL, he still manages to never disappoint by not skipping out on his opportunity to show his disdain for Bob Dylan. Cheers.
Well, yeah, like, you don't have to, like, imagine, like, already knowing that Bob Dylan sucks and then finding out that Pop Crave posts a tweet about how Bob Dylan just joined TikTok 4 days before it's banned. Come on.
Just because I'm free said I don't want a robot for those weird stuff, but if there is a robot butler like Alfred was for Bruce Wayne, I'll get it.
It's literally what's coming, and it's gonna cost, and it's gonna be like $20,000 because you're gonna be able to finance it.
Me and Olivia decided, we said, like, when we get married, like either when we get married or whenever we buy a house, that we're gonna get a dog, to go with the cats. But maybe I'll be like, honey, how about instead of the dog, we get a robot butler.
A robot dog.
A robot dog that does
Even
the dishes
better.
for us.
James Kodaridis said, worst ex-girlfriend, robot girl, or celibacy? You can only pick one.
Celibacy.
You pick celibacy? What about you?
Celibacy.
Okay.
All right. Let's hold off on the rest.
That's good. That's encouraging to hear. It takes a lot to shock me on social media these days, but I'm telling you, when I came across this woman's content, I was absolutely floored at the level of entitlement, lack of self-awareness, and terrible advice that she is giving to other women in the dating pool. Her name is Danielle Walter. She has 1 million followers on Instagram and calls herself the brunette Carrie Bradshaw. She idolizes the most annoying character from Sex and the City. She's a 32-year-old single woman, and that is the entire focus of her content. She quit her tech job in order to make dating nonstop her entire career path. She only goes on first, maybe second dates with men. They never go anywhere. And that's the entire storyline that people are watching play out in her life.
So she's literally a pro dater.
That's her career path. She has chosen to go on countless dinner dates.
Impressive in a
with
sad
men
sort of
in
way.
major cities and record the entire process. She records herself getting ready for the date. She records her reaction immediately after the date and keeps her followers, posted on what's going on with pilot guy, what's going on with this so-and-so nice guy.
To her credit as a businesswoman, women must eat this content up.
I'm sure they do, which is why she has such a large following.
So 20 there from Jose Quintana.
I'm a little late this afternoon. Hi, Brett, Empress, and Phil. Just saw The Wolfman. Anyway, there you go. I like Julia Garner, but this was a very bland monster film. Very bland. Long live PCC.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at the first video from Danielle Walter where she introduces herself and her content for beginners.
This one here?
My name is Danielle. I'm 31 years old, single, and I just quit my entire career in tech sales to go full-time on social media, where I pretty much share every detail of my life. You may know me as the girl who takes you along all her dates, or you may know me as the girl who gives advice, but my assumption is that all of you see yourselves in me one way or another, as there's over 500,000 of you now joining me. And we're addressing big questions over here, like, how long does it take to find love? What's the deal with Pilot Man? Will she ever find Mr. Right? And when will her last first date happen? And I promise you, I'm sharing these details just as soon as I know them. But I'm also doing the heavy lifting here and figuring out the answers for the 52% of the female American population who is still single. Because like it or not, we are actually the majority. So it's about time we start talking about how to date, how to uphold standards, dating apps, and knowing that everything we need is already there. I'm living my life publicly to help you take a chance in your own via my new series, Single in the City, where we'll be talking through all of these things. And don't worry, my date before and after videos and recaps are still gonna be there. But I want another side of this, a deeper side of this, a side of this that inspires you to take an active role in your own life, so that 50 years from now, you're not wishing you weren't just a bystander, or to get those precious years back while you were still young, to take the chance to smile at the guy, to move cities, to pursue your dreams, whatever it is. So until next time, bye.
The faux uplifting music in the background is just so creepy.
Directly from corporate.
We have a 20 from Slalom. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Official petition to get the 4th age on PCC. Let's go.
That would be cool.
I'm not familiar.
He was the comic book content creator that I was talking about earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's watch. First of all, that to get paid to eat for a living. That's impressive.
Yeah, well, there's this supposedly trend of women going on dates just to get free dinner. Mm-hmm. And I never understood that because first of all, you're losing by having to hang out with someone you don't have any interest in. So that sounds awful. And second of all, you're losing because you have to eat and it's making you fat. So everyone loses.
Most people like eating though, Mary.
Everyone in that situation loses.
She mentioned that 52% of the population are single. What's the percentage of?
It's 52% of American women are single.
Yeah, 52% of American women are single. What are the percentage of American women that are overweight?
more than that.
Because I believe that if
something
more,
like 70%.
If more people were not overweight, there would be fewer people overweight. There would be fewer single people, and this goes for both men and women.
Oh yeah,
it's
not just women.
Not just saying. I'm not saying just women, but if there were more people that were attractive, then there would be more people that were in relationships.
Definitely, but credit where credit is due. This woman is conventionally attractive.
Yeah.
She takes care of herself. She's fit. She puts a lot of effort into the way that she dresses, and she shows her followers how she does her hair and her makeup. She is bringing something to the table. The problem is that she's insane.
No,
and the
she
problem
thinks
is
she's
that
the table.
she.
I'd be willing to bet anything she thinks she's the table.
I think the main problem here is that she insists on sharing every last detail of her life online, meaning she benefits from staying single. Her career benefits from her staying single and sharing those woes with her followers.
Yeah, it'd be funny.
Therefore, she's never going to end up in a relationship because it would ruin the whole appeal of her brand.
It would be really funny if we find out she's extremely ethical later and she reimburses all the men for the for the date because she's like, look, I'm sorry, I have to do this for work. I didn't mean to waste your time, but I can at least reimburse you for your meal.
The sad thing is she recorded her reaction after going on a second date with a guy she said was really nice, but something just wasn't clicking.
Here, let's listen to this.
Let's see. There wasn't a spark.
You guys. This man is the sweetest.
Flowers.
And I don't know what to do I didn't know what to do until about like 5 minutes ago. So throughout the dinner, I'm trying to identify, like, do I just see friends, like, not romantically? Could this be more kind of thing? And then we start walking back to the car. And I'm walking, like, the wrong direction. And he just slips a hand right on my lower back. And I'm like, there may be attraction there. And I don't know, we had this, like, silly talk about pajamas. And, like, it was really funny and cute. And I don't know. I feel like I saw another side to him, and he's just so thoughtful. So I don't think I have any choice other than to go out with him again. He's just a great guy, and I want to.
Where's the butt?
So anyway, the saga continues. We'll see what happens.
She's like, but my job prevents me from doing this with the same guy over and over and over again, because then it's not a first date video.
The small of the back thing is like that. I mean, that's supposed. Is that not obvious? Like, is that not an obvious? Like, if you're a dude out there, if you want to like seem, if you want to inform a woman that you're at least somewhat attracted to her without doing something that might be a little more ballsy than you're comfortable with, like going in for a kiss or whatever, when she's walking, put your hand in the small of her back and just like, don't push, just put it there as she walks, allow her to go wherever she wants to go. And like, women will pick up on that, and it's generally, unless like, you know, it's generally thought of as fairly harmless, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. And
yes,
am I
I mean, what she's saying here is that she's not actually interested in the guy, even though he's doing everything right. And that's the problem. So all of these people in her comments were saying, leave this good man alone. He doesn't deserve your chaos, indecision, and immaturity.
That's hilarious.
She got the ick because he was too nice to her. Another one said...
Do you think she got the ick, or is she just was just not really into him in the first place?
No, I think that she's annoyed that she likes him because her business model prevents her from actually finding the right person.
I think she's not actually into him, and she just doesn't want to admit that to herself.
So the idea is like, she's like, by my own advice, he's doing everything right, but I'm not attracted to him, and I have no idea how to verbalize that.
But she's just going to waste his time anyway and go on a third date.
So you think she just wants like dudes that treat her badly?
She wants
you think she's broken?
Maybe she just doesn't know what she wants, even though she should by now at this stage in life.
Well, given what she's doing for work, she should.
And this was a really cynical take. These are the guys who make great husbands, just saying. like it's a compromise to find someone that you would marry instead of hook up with.
Well, that was my first instinct was to say that this is the guy she wants to come back to 10 years later.
I'm sure.
I know that's cynical. I don't mean to sound cynical. But.
Now, I referred to the terrible advice that she gives other women from a place of zero authority, given that she is 32 and single. The next video we're going to watch is a prime example of that, where she is basically telling women, just wait until you find what you deserve.
Here we go.
Girl, you are too hot to be waiting around. You're too hot to be waiting around. Okay? There's so many people out there. There's so many opportunities. There's so much good food. If you need to cry, cry. And then you're going to be done with that. You're going to get yourself together. You're going to go get yourself a good meal. And then you're just going to meet a bunch of people, okay? Flirt with everyone. Everyone. Because I tell you what, something's gonna happen. You're gonna start getting asked out on dates in real life. You're gonna make a bunch of friends. And you're gonna have a great time. The only reason that you're stuck right now, at home, unhappy, thinking that you'll never love again, is because you don't have enough social proof of joy in your life. You haven't done it enough. But in order to experience joy, you have to show up. Show up. I love you. Girl.
So she's giving her followers all of this advice about how to cultivate joy and seek it out in their own lives. But ironically, I just saw the most horrifying video of all. She is devastated about the fact that she is single during this past holiday season. And to console herself, she reminds herself that she has all of these products that she can consume and
material possessions,
distractions that can make life worth living, and she will get to have her happy ending anyway. This is the infamous shakshuka girl, the girl who says she's glad that she's single right now so she can go make shakshuka without kids getting in the way of her doing whatever she wants. It's really like, I don't really like feel bad for her because she's kind of dragging other people into her mess, but let's just take a look.
A couple of days ago, I was feeling really sad about being alone, meaning single for Christmas again. And I got to thinking about how by this age, my mom had 2 kids, me and my brother. I would have been 4 years old. Chris was 6. So I think about myself if I had a 4 and a 6-year-old. Specifically tonight and this holiday season. If I had a 4 and a 6-year-old, I would not be able to come home to my pretty clean house that I live in alone, where everything is decorated,
it's not clean,
super pretty, and nothing moves unless I touch it, and go into my huge bed that I don't have to share with anybody, or worry about getting woken up by a small child. And I wouldn't get to lay on my heating pad and read a book with no interruptions, or watch whatever I want to watch. If I had a 4 and a 6-year-old, I would be taking care of them. And this luxury of having this time, and I don't know, it's a gift, and I'm feeling the range of emotions. So whereas a few days ago, I was a little bit sad about still being single at 32 for another holiday season, I'm kind of reveling in it right now in this moment where I get to do whatever I want whenever I want. That's a gift. And the cool...
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, eat the cat, eat
well, you get the picture.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, eat the cat.
This is what all of her content looks like. Yeah. And her philosophy in life is that
everyone should suffer as much as she is.
Well, I mean, as I said, I would feel bad for someone in this situation who is just lonely. But instead of just doing what she needs to do to survive and be happy in this stage of her life, she's broadcasting it to millions of people, and she's making herself into this kind of role model for women who are mostly younger than her, and making them think that they're going to get their happy ending even if they do nothing to attain it. And I can't really excuse that or feel bad for you at that point. And that's just a massive cope. Obviously, that's a cope because you're looking around at your empty house and saying that you're fulfilled when you know you're not.
What is the male counterpart of this? Is it just typical red pill culture?
I mean, if we're looking at it based on the feedback you're trying to get from the content, the emotional feedback you're trying to find from the content, it's invulnerability. So yes, it's really the same thing in a different wrapping. It's the same product in a different packaging, a different aesthetic.
An interesting discussion to be had about the idea that with everything that we have now in our lives are so digital, our lives are so busy, that it is probably a lot easier to distract yourself from whatever you might feel like you're missing in life. And look, I don't know her. For all I know, she actually feels this way. I mean, given the fact that she said a couple of days prior she didn't feel that way, I can assume that maybe at the very least there's doubts there. But for somebody who is truly leading a life where they feel like there's something lacking, there's no end to the amount of stimuli you can put yourself through, put into your life to distract you from whatever that might be. Now, it might be family, it might be the desire to change in other ways, but it is interesting the amount of materialism that's connected to it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I guess that would have been like me saying to Olivia, sorry, I'm just not willing to compromise on what show I'm watching tonight. Therefore, I guess we weren't meant to be together or something. It's like the bare amount of compromise.
Well, I think just a wild guess, perhaps the reason why she can't get a third date with any of these men is because they find out that her entire job is broadcasting her dating life on the internet. Yeah. She might do better finding a husband if she stopped doing that, but unfortunately she needs to. And this is the type of person that people are calling a role model for women on social media. Very disheartening. But with all that being said, we should finish up these super chats.
Let's do it.
James Coderidis said, Phil, I know, is it Chiron?
Chiron, yes.
Chiron is a staple of the ATR set list, but it feels like it's missing something without going straight into Days Without Next set. Maybe?
Maybe. Days Without is was a deep cut, so just the fact that Days Without is pretty impressive. My girlfriend likes that one a lot too, so she'll appreciate that as well.
Professor Freakoff said women rebranded all their shitty behavior as acts of protest. Well, to be fair, it was referring to Gen Z males and females in the career catfishing, not just the females. Dingus Khan said, job hunting sucks. That's why I've been stuck at my mediocre job for 16 years.
I really do hate, I've from the day I reached the age of majority, I had a job when I was 15, 16.
What's the age of majority?
I like when I hit 18 and I had to move, I got another job. I stayed at every job way longer. A lot of those, now I'm very lucky. I have a job that I love, but I've had a lot of jobs that I didn't hate, but I was ambivalent about. Like, they weren't stressful, so I couldn't hate them, but they weren't careers. And a lot of those jobs I stuck with just because I didn't want to frickin' look for another one. I hate job hunting.
The Rumbling said, hi, Brett, Mary, and Phil. To back up Phil, will the robot... I'm not gonna finish reading that. Nope.
Fair enough.
Shane H. Wilder said, technically I do bare minimum Mondays, but my days off are Sunday and Monday. When I'm at work, I'm working. Some days are busier, like today at 4 Central, I will be covering the SpaceX launch.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we would just say if it's your off day, it's your off day. But if you're on a work day and you're doing the bare minimum, it's not a good thing. James Coderidis said, Dave Mustaine rants are legendary. Used to go on Alex Jones's show back in the day. Videos still on YouTube. Is that true? I had no idea he went on Alex Jones. No Control said, Phil, for 2025, time to update your tagline to there are always guns.
There are always, that's a reference to something I said the other night, a couple nights ago on IRL. But yes, there are always guns. There are always guns around. Don't get it twisted. don't think that people around here or around me are unarmed. There are always guns.
Oh, I missed this 20 from Just 'Cause I'm Free earlier. Sorry about that. Didn't realize Mary was showing another cringe of the day. Danielle is the chaotic woman that other bored or sad women will watch and support. It's similar to watching The Bachelor. That is so true. I doubt that all of the women watching her content are serial dating as much as she is, but they're living vicariously through it. Shane H. Wilder said, cake or death? I'll take the cake, please. Well, we're all out of cake, so my choice is or death? Is this a reference to something? Because I don't know it. Pop Culture Junkie said, the Diddy and Gaiman situations are further examples of twisting language into a pretzel to justify vile behavior. I don't know much about the Neil Gaiman story. I didn't read it in full. I've just seen
We never covered it.
About it.
People in this space did cover it from its inception. John Delarose was on it from the very beginning of those allegations. That was over a year ago now. There are just like when we covered like Diddy, right, and all of this stuff. A lot of times it can be so depressing that we're just like, we're gonna destroy the whole mood. Like how I don't want to like plenty of people will talk about it. This is a podcast and commentary channel. It's not like I feel some moral obligation.
We're not news reporters.
I don't feel like I don't feel a moral obligation to make every day the most depressing day you can think of. But there are a lot of channels that are covering it now, and I do recommend looking into it. It's very, very interesting.
Zach Hates YouTube sent us a 20 concerning yesterday's talk of Aubrey Plaza. I'm honestly surprised that the whole internet, including me, had the same thought after hearing about her husband's death. Anyway, you guys rock, especially Phil.
Cheers.
It was disconcerting to see that a lot of people said that stuff to her, but that's unfortunately the age of the internet, and it's very hard to get away from creeps, you know.
Not saying you're a creep.
Not you.
As long as you kept that thought to yourself.
Yeah, what you think is not the same thing as what you decide to actually type and say, but there were a lot of people that did think that was the appropriate time to do that.
Shane H. Wilder said, I'd campaign to make Mary ambassador of kink shaming.
You would love that.
I would. It's my dream job. Sarah G. said, Danielle Walter is gross. Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Fair enough.
Red Snow said, praise be to PCC and B positive blood sign crew. Still don't know what that means.
Do you know your blood type? Does anybody here know their blood type?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
I do, but I will not say it.
Okay.
Really?
For some reason, I feel like I shouldn't. Why?
Okay.
There was I remember there was an episode of House where House makes a joke that happens to accidentally predict Wilson's blood type. And he's like, you know my blood type? Why would you look up my blood type? He's like, I didn't. It just fit the metaphor. He's like, no. Like, this is weird. Why would you know my blood type?
Zach Hates YouTube sent us another 20. Please don't change the Crisis Party track. It's so good. Also, Brett, any idea why the Superchats always crash on IRL, according to Tim, but magically never crash on PCC?
Literally?
Seems a little sus.
No, literally just 2 minutes ago, they crashed. It did actually just crash on. Sometimes it gives me the reload screen. That's what he's talking about.
The reason why I can read all of the super chats in order is because they populate in a spreadsheet outside of YouTube.
Yeah.
If it didn't go like that, I wouldn't be able to scroll back and read all of that.
Yeah, they crash for me all the time. So what will happen, and it's something to do with Brave browser, and when you run the show, we just have an ungodly amount of tabs open at any one given time. So it's hell on the computer's memory. So what will happen is all of a sudden, and it freaked me out the first time it happened too, because the whole YouTube interface goes away and I have to reload the screen. Luckily, YouTube doesn't kill the stream when that happens. But literally just a minute ago, I tried to move the browser over and it was frozen for almost a full minute. I was about to ask him you still getting a stream over there? Is it still working? We're good. But no, it's that is not Tim doing any shenanigans. It actually does happen all the time.
Corey Anderson, I am not reading that. Olvin McGoth said, finished watching last night's Timcast IRL show, and it was an annoying AF episode and a dumb circle of an argument. I'm sorry, Brett, you had to sit in on that.
It was very, very each person lobbed an argument that went over the other person's shoulder. They seemed to kind of be talking past each other. Whatever. It was fine. I just hung out.
Sarah G said, I've gone out on dinner dates just for food before. Not proud of it. Very immature.
Well, you
props to you for
admitting it.
Admitting that you did that.
I can't imagine actually doing that.
I can't either. I am so unable to tolerate people that I would not want to saddle myself with hanging out with some stranger for like an hour or 2 hours just for food. That sounds like hell to me.
Is there anything you would do? Is there anything that you could get that would be worth spending 2 hours with somebody you might or might not like? What if there was like a free hair bleaching, but you have to talk to somebody you don't like for 2 hours?
Well, that's just talking to the hairstylist.
I know. That's why I'm making the point.
Literally, yes. Omega Red Fan said, I used to think Facebook was a dating website until 2012 when it went to hell. Well, I mean, why else would they put the dating status on Facebook otherwise?
I deleted my Facebook in 2021. It was
poking.
the best decision
we
I
should
made.
have poking on Twitter. The poke thing that should come back. Sarah G said, this dating advice girl is literally restarted. To all men, we apologize. I don't need to apologize for shit. I mean, she did that all on her own.
That type of content is, that type of content sadly is, I understand that men will feel the ramifications if she influences a bunch of women, but that content isn't being made for men to consume. It's being made for women to consume. Much in the same way, like I think you or somebody else pointed out, it kind of plays on the same type of dopamine receptor as watching reality TV, dating reality TV.
At least I'm not as dysfunctional as she is. Shane H. Wilder said she'll never find the one because she's using dating as a business model. To her, it's not about a relationship. It's about a paycheck.
And I do feel bad for the men who are kind of, she's taking advantage of their kindness and their desire to meet someone, assuming that they're in good conscience.
She's leading them on.
She's leading them on.
She also has kind of created a whole identity around being single that she can't let go of.
She would have to, granted these days, one of the things that people who have grown up in the social media age have had to learn to do, especially if they're a content creator, is the pivot. So at some point, she would meet the right guy, marry, and then they become a content couple who make videos together.
Great. Even better. Professor Freakoff said Team Cope.
Yeah.
Then what's this? Sarah G said, I meant to spell Danielle, not Daniel. I promise I'm stupid, but not that stupid. It's okay. Typos happen. Can the counter-revolutionary get rid of the chin strap before I jump out my window? I miss sexy Phil.
No. Like I said, the mustache goes in my girlfriend's nose. She doesn't like it. Sorry. I like kissing her more than I worry about people that, dislike my
this
facial
is not,
hairstyle.
This is not your girlfriend.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
checking. Okay. Shane H. Wilder said Cake or Death is a classic Eddie Izzard?
Eddie Izzard.
Izzard? Oh.
The Rumbling.
The Rumbling said, what is wrong with what I was saying about Instacart versus robots? I was talking about Ariana Grande licking donuts or people licking ice cream in public and putting it back in the freezer. Okay, I thought there was some kind of innuendo going on there, and I still do. DC&C said, Marry Your Blood Type is the final piece missing for my hex. Please supply. Good show, guys. Well, now you're definitely not getting it, but I knew there were ulterior motives. Thank you.
That made me laugh.
2 big super chats.
Yep. Hold, please.
Okay, we have a 20 from Jose Quintana. These women with their narcissistic dating lives, boring. By the way, why not do the obvious? Have Phil and All That Remains make the new Crisis Party music. You could have Mary recording the hook. Come on, Phil. I already have something in mind, and I think that you all will like it. Unless you hate it, then we're still not going to change it. Then we have a 50 from the Manic Mustache. Late as usual, but apropos to Mary getting... I don't know what the fuck that means. Everyone's favorite mustachioed taco pirates, JJ Tacos, will be offering a Ghost Girl special that's for asada tacos and a drink for $5. Follow our taco tyranny at JJ Tacos. Remember to stay toxic.
I'm so hungry right now.
You want Taco John's.
I'm so hungry right now. I'm gonna DoorDash.
You gonna cry?
Yes.
You gonna cry?
You gonna cry about it?
Zach Hates YouTube said, whoa, an automated system / script to pull all super chats to a spreadsheet. Sounds awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't figure it out myself. I still don't know how it works, but it does. Red Snow said, what is the panel's thoughts on cheese danishes?
I don't eat them. I'm very bland.
Fine.
I'm very bland in my breakfast pastry order.
I like cream cheese stuff.
I would eat it. It sounds good to me. Sarah G said Shane H. Wilder sounds like an author's name.
It does.
It does.
It does.
It's very dignified. She also said, Phil, are you embarrassed of our relationship?
All right, guys.
Sarah G?
It says G. Yes.
Could be anyone. Who knows?
I have no idea who that is.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed here yet already, please, and thank you. Phil, thank you so much.
Thank you. I am Phil That Remains on Twix. You can subscribe to my Twix page there. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains, and our new record drops on January 31st. The record is called Anti-Fragile. If you want to get a little sample of some of the songs that are going to be on that record, you can go over to YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, and Deezer. You can listen to Forever Cold, Let You Go, No Tomorrow, or Divine. Go to Spotify and pre-save the record right now, and don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
Shane H. Wilder said, I mean, I am a writer, among other things. Don't be so modest. You're an author.
Yep.
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived.
All right, guys, if you want to follow me, Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. This show is here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify, if you would prefer to listen rather than watch the show. And if you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook and not TikTok, because TikTok is getting banned, not just us getting banned on TikTok, at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.